shit! So I'm gonna talk about Breath of the Wild now, if that's okay.
Back in 2011, with the completion of The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, the game was leveled with a common complaint. That being, players wanted to be able to explore the world and felt limited by being dropped into disconnected locations.
And I don't disagree with that. You should be able to climb over shit and explore. Emphasis on should. One of my favorite things about the Zelda games has always been exploring the world of Hyrule.
Eiji Aonuma took that criticism to heart, and as soon as Skyward Sword was released, he immediately began thinking about the next Zelda game, saying, "A large open connected world was in my mind as soon as Skyward Sword was finished, really." And then the Wii U hardware made realizing that idea a possibility.
Wii U!
Aonuma decided to return to Zelda's roots, and instead of basing its design on Ocarina of Time, as all previous 3D Zelda games had, it took its inspiration from the very first Zelda game, one with an open world players could explore at their whim.
So now with the release of Breath of the Wild, how does this focus on exploration fare? Does anyone have a stamina potion?
Breath of the Wild begins with Link waking up in some weird cryogenic sleep chamber where he finds a Nintendo Switch, or futuristic-looking Sheikah slate. Seriously, I think this is just a Wii U gamepad. So, with Sheikah pad in hand, you're able to progress out of your chamber where—
Link, you are the light. Our light. That must shine upon Hyrule once again.
Hey, I just woke up here from 100 years of sleep, apparently. Can you give me a little breather before thrusting me into the fate of all humanity rests on your shoulders? So, stepping out of the cave you've been holed up in, you'll see a glimpse of the massive world that is Breath of the Wild. And it's at this point that you can almost do whatever you want. You've walked into the Great Plateau in what's essentially the game's tutorial area. So, might as well talk to the old hermit camping out near you and steal his apples. He explains the Great Plateau is the birthplace of all of the land of Hyrule, and nearby is the Temple of Time. Man, hermits are always so wise. Near him, you'll find a woodcutter's axe, and depending on the path you take, likely your first real weapon, which, as the name implies, can actually be used to cut down trees. The power! The power! This is almost too much power! Shit! I can't stop cutting down trees! Your first real goal comes in finding a Sheikah tower. By using your game slate, the tower will activate and spring out of the ground, as well as activating all of the other Sheikah towers across the land. These towers serve as central locations throughout the land. They allow you to observe and look for objectives you'll want to explore and find, as well as serving as an objective themselves. Anytime you're in a new area, they act as landmarks and an immediate destination you're going to want to find. Oh, and one more thing, you apparently activated a bunch of shrines. By leaving the tower to further investigate, the old hermit from before will paraglide down to you and I want that! How do I get that? The hermit explains that the shrouded beast around the castle in the distance is none other than Calamity Ganon. Is that like a Super Saiyan form of Ganon? It's not just normal Ganon, nope! It's Calamity Ganon. In case you were questioning he was a bad dude, we added Calamity to his name. Also, apparently if you want to explore Hyrule further and actually go to confront the Calamity, you'll need something like his paraglider in order to get off the plateau. And how do you get one? Why, he'll trade it in exchange for a treasure in a nearby shrine. Don't you want me to stop the evil? The Ganon who's so bad his name is literally Calamity? Give it, you greedy man! I don't really see the logic in this, but okay? This will lead you into the various shrines of the Great Plateau, with the first being the Oman Ao Shrine. And, according to Zelda.Gamepedia, Oman Ao is apparently an anagram of Aonuma, or Eiji Aonuma, the producer of Breath of the Wild. Throughout Breath of the Wild, you'll end up finding many shrines, with Oman Ao being the first. Each of these shrines house a spirit orb and the treasure the old man is looking for. Not only this, but they all have new abilities for you to unlock, which will be your main abilities throughout the game. You got your Magnesis Room, which will allow you to go straight Half-Life and control metallic objects. You got your Stasis, letting you freeze certain objects in time. You got your Cryonis, which will let you turn water into ice. And you got your Infinite Bombs for... Exploring for the shrines, you'll also come across a decayed robotic... So yeah, there's laser beams. It turns out these decayed robotic beings are guardians, and remnants of a past Hylian society who built the robots in order to counter Calamity Ganon. I mean, I knew Breath of the Wild was going to take some risks, but I didn't know they were going to go straight sci-fi. What's next? UFOs? Okay, yeah, I'm in. And with 4 Spirit Orbs now in hand, it's time to head back to the Temple of Time, where you'll discover you can exchange 4 Spirit Orbs to increase either your max HP or your max stamina. But who would ever need stamina? Not like that would ever come in handy. So, time to increase max hearts, and... oh wait, wasn't I supposed to give this to the old man? I'm sure he won't care.
Oh!
Oh, hey, I didn't think you wanted those orbs, King Rome? King Rome proceeds to explain that during his time, they tried to prepare for the coming of Ganon. Along with digging up guardians, they also found 4 enormous divine beasts created for fighting Ganon. 4 skilled individuals from across the lands were dubbed champions and tasked with piloting the divine beasts. Meanwhile, the princess of the land was said to have the power to seal Ganon alongside an appointed knight. All was for naught as Ganon seized control of the Guardians and Divine Beasts, using them against Hyrule, killed the champions, and the knight was gravely wounded protecting the princess. And Hyrule was straight fucked. The princess used all of her power to seal Hyrule and Ganon, and the knight was taken away to the Shrine of Resurrection to be recovered 100 years later. And as fate would have it, that knight was you, Link, and the princess none other than King Rome's daughter, Zelda. Well, I'm shocked. King Rome suggests you stop at Kakariko Village prior to charging off towards Ganon, and finally gives you the paraglider. About damn time. And with that, the world of Breath of the Wild is truly open to you. For real, you can go straight to Ganon if you'd like to get your ass handed to you, or explore any part of the massive map you want. Taking the King's advice, you'll travel past the Twin Peaks and find Hestu. A Korok will expand your inventory if you find Korok Seeds for him, which you need. Let me explain. These weapons right here, this sweet, sweet sword, yeah, it's bullshit. So is this axe. Bullshit. That thing? Bullshit. All of it is shit. They break in half a second, so you're constantly swapping to new weapons. And with limited space, you'll have to decide, is this bullshit hammer what I want, or is this POS spear what I need? And as they're brittle as my great-grandmother's old bones, you'll need to make sure you have enough backup weapons for every battle. Hence, you'll need as much grandma bone inventory space as humanly possible. And in expanding your inventory, it's off to Kakariko for real, and I need to climb that shit. A Korok seed? Holy shit, so worth it. Anyways, time to head to Kaka. You know, I never really explored the Twin Peaks. What? Talos Jr. mini-boss monster? Strives for more spirit orbs? But wait, what about over there? It was nothing. Ooh, but what about over there? Oh my god, a giant horse? Holy shit, that shrine had clothes in it. I want clothes. So much. You can do so much! So, this is the moment when the game truly connected with me. Breath of the Wild is the game of, ooh, what's that over there? But wait, what's that over there? And the game is built for exactly that. Exploration, and it feels so good to be able to truly explore without any boundaries. Link's 2 main stats are stamina and health, with stamina being essential to running, climbing, and swimming. And even when you're low on stamina, you can typically find alternate routes to where you want to go, or you can concoct food to temporarily increase your stamina so you can explore more. And speaking of food, you'll be prepping it all of the time. Food will grant you various stat boosts, such as allowing you to traverse in icy or hot terrains, increase your health, and more. Also, when you cook a thing, it magically becomes more things. So like, when does this become a buffet?
Dave, I don't think it works that way.
What? With a basic understanding of the stats, I guess we'll head over to Kakariko Village. The village itself is home to the Sheikah tribe and is basically a traditional Japanese village. Here you'll find several cuckoos, some of your first optional side quests to help the villagers, and the badass Sheikah ninja set. You can also find a journal in town telling you the villagers' dilemmas. You know, the usual, like, That new guy in town looks like he really knows how to tune a bow. I hope he comes by and knocks an arrow for me. It's been way too long. Nintendo! Family Entertainment! At the village elder's house, you'll meet Paya, a cute Sheikah girl who is all about Link, and Impa. Impa is a wise old Sheikah who knew Link from 100 years ago, and, surprise surprise, Link has no memory of her or anything prior to when he woke up. She tasks you with reclaiming the 4 divine beasts who are running amok, as well as unlocking powering your Sheikah slat, which can only be done at a research lab in Hateno Village. Hateno Village being an important location, as it's where you can become a homeowner and buy a house. It's also the point where I learned that I'm a master haggler. 50,000 rupees to buy a house, you say? Well, how about I'll buy that house for 50,000 rupees? Blah blah blah. Just for you, I'll cut you a special price of 3,000 rupees. Listen, I don't ask for much, but a simple thank you for teaching the mastercraft of haggling would be appreciated. Heading to the Hateno Ancient Tech Lab, you'll meet Purah, a Sheikah who casts an experimental anti-aging rune on herself, turning herself into a child. She'll unlock the full functionality of your Wii U game slate for you, and in particular, a camera with various photos Zelda took while you were journeying together. By exploring Hyrule and finding the location of these photos, you'll unlock memories of Link's past journey with Zelda. In other words, the game actively encourages exploration. None of these quests are necessary to do to beat the game, but every single one of them acts as an agent to get you to explore the land. I mean, seriously, it's a photo of a fucking tree. So, which forest is it in? Another nice Easter egg we get from these memories is a glimpse into where on the Zelda timeline Breath of the Wild takes place. Now, I'm not going to get into the official Zelda timeline according to the, official Hyrule Historia, as it's somewhat of a clusterfuck. But in the ceremony in which Zelda anoints Link her champion, she states,
Whether skyward bound, adrift in time, or steeped in the glowing embers of twilight.
Directly referencing Skyward Sword, Ocarina of Time, and Twilight Princess. Which basically puts us down this timeline, the Dark World and the hero's descendants. Of the 4 divine beasts, the first one I ended up tackling, probably completely by accident, was Ruta of the Zora domain. While aimlessly exploring, as that's pretty much the game, the Prince of the Zora, Sidon, will lead you directly into the Zora domain, which is plagued by a non-stop storm being caused by the rampaging divine beast, Ruta. And if he continues on, it will cause massive flooding that will destroy both the Zora's domain and Hyrule. You're granted the Zora's armor, a custom-made armor the former Zora princess and former champion crafted for her love and future husband. That's you, kid. Oh, and minor aside, it allows you to swim directly up waterfalls, although you still suck at swimming normally. So, waterfalls it is then. In order to stop Ruta, you'll first need to gather 20 shock arrows, which you can gather from a terrifying creature who shoots volley after volley of them. Yeah. Turns out the terrifying creature is a Lionel, one of the scattered mini-bosses you can find throughout the land. These enemies are far more challenging than your run-of-the-mill baddies, and some of them even give the bosses a run for their money. And while they're all optional to fight, most of them take advantage of Breath of the Wild's new combat system and end up being some of the most entertaining enemies to fight. The Lionel, in particular, requires you to master time dodging, which will allow you a moment to counter with a flurry rush. The combat overall is much faster paced than former Zelda games, with timing counters of the utmost importance in melee combat. But shock arrows in hand, time to face off against Ruta. This involves 2 phases. The first of these will see you teaming up with Prince Sidon, who will help you shoot shock arrows at the beast and stop its endless supply of water shooting out. Once this is done, you'll be able to get close enough to the beast to go inside to the second phase, which turns out to be a classic Zelda dungeon. The ghost of the former champion, Mipha, will call out to aid you as you'll traverse through the dungeon. Aside from utilizing the various techniques you learned at the beginning of the game to solve puzzles, you'll also have to utilize the divine beast itself, in this case Ruta, a giant walking elephant. And while the 120 shrines in the game get old pretty fast, these massive moving dungeons ended up being a highlight and left me wishing for more. And for solving all the dungeon's puzzles, you'll have to square off against Water Blight Ganon. Oh, Ganon! How creative! The boss fight consists of a mix of needing to utilize the battle techniques you've learned so far, along with minor puzzle elements. And outside of hints from the ghost of Mipha, the game doesn't hold your hand at all, which is pretty refreshing for a Zelda game. You'll need to come prepared with materials, such as healing items, boosts, weapons, and arrows, otherwise you could be SOL. But I managed to beat him anyways with minimal prep. Which, yo, ghost! Oh, it's just Mipha. Who is a ghost? Or spirit. Mipha grants you the most powerful effect in the entire game.
Mipha's grace.
Which, when your hearts run out, you'll automatically be resurrected with full health plus temporary bonus hearts. But needs a 24-minute cooldown period before you can use it again. Oh, her spirit also takes control of the Divine Beast, which proceeds to march out towards Hyrule Castle and shoots a red laser beam at Calamity Ganon, which will drain Ganon of his power. So, cool. One Divine Beast down. Next up, I decide to head into the desert of Gerudo, where, this doesn't look like a desert. In fact, it doesn't look like a desert at all. So yeah, I kind of just stumbled across a dragon, so fuck Divine Beast, time to fight a dragon, which is part of what's so great about this game. While you are rewarded for doing all of this with the Spirit Orb, I really didn't care. Just doing it in itself was a reward. That's how good this game is. While the reward was fine, it isn't as good as just having the adventure and discovery. Along with the Spirit Orb, you'll also receive a Frost Spear, which is a magical spear forged from ancient ice, taken from the Hebra Mountains. Hebra. I think that's a typo. I believe you meant Hebrew Mountains. Anyways, onto the Gerudo Desert in Gerudo Town, where you're not allowed in if you're not a woman. So, just like a typical teenage comedy movie, it's time to figure out a way in. Obvious solution. And we're in. Now listen, I want to know where the Gerudo Chief is. Tell me now! I want to ask her for her hand in marriage. So help me if she turns me down! Also, I know some of you know I had diarrhea yesterday and clogged all the toilets. If anyone tells her, you know what's up! The current Gerudo Chief is Riju, who recognizes your Sheikah slit, and that this means you're the champion, being that the Divine Beast Naboris is cloaked in a massive sandstorm and shoots lightning at those who dare approach. Riju offers to help you take it down and save their city. Similar to Ruta, the first phase involves Riju helping you get into the Divine Beast, whereas the second is a puzzle-based dungeon all based around the Divine Beast itself. This time, the disembodied voice of the Gerudo champion, Urbosa, helps guide you as you eventually face Thunderblight Ganon, and who I found to be the most challenging boss in the game. No, really, this dude is harder than the final boss, and everything. This dude, fuck this dude. For defeating Thunderblight Ganon, Urbosa and the Divine Beast join Ruta in draining Calamity Ganon, and Urbosa gifts you the power of Urbosa's Fury. I am Zeus, I am Zeus, I am Zeus. So, 2 more Divine Beasts to go, all likely in the northern portion of the map. Heading northeast, you can find a spiral-shaped key. I feel like I've seen this before. Somewhere. I don't like it! Let's head further north to is that a Borg cube? That's it! I'm heading west, and to the west is none other than the Lost Woods, which, if you've ever played Zelda: A Link to the Past, is clearly going to be the location of the Master Sword. And if you can solve the puzzle of getting through the Lost Woods, which is a nice change of pace from everything before, what should you find but none other than the Great Deku Tree and the Master Sword?
As you are now, I cannot say whether you are worthy or not. If you sought to free the sword in any sort of weakened state, you would surely lose your life where you stand.
Yeah, whatever. I've watched Sword in the Stone. I got this. Easy. Worth it. Okay, no Master Sword yet. So, further west is the home of the Rito, Dragon Roo style. The Rito Village. It's the same music. I got confused. Rito Village is being plagued by the divine beast Medoh, meaning it's time to get inside and utilize the help of the spirit of Rivali to take control of the third beast. For doing so, you'll receive Rivali's Gale, which creates an upward draft that carries you into the sky. And combined with your glider, this is pretty much the best thing ever, especially for a game that's all about climbing and exploration. Not only that, but it'll help you tackle the rain. Rain! Onwards to the final divine beast, Ruta. Holy shit! So turns out no matter what you wear, you will light on fire for traversing into the volcanic region of the Goron. Apparently there's a quest to get an elixir that prevents that, but, yeah. I kinda just figured out that if you talk to a passerby, the fire will go out for a bit, and use that to just sneak around the problem into the Goron village. Here you'll be able to buy the Flamebreaker set. Giant armor which will somehow protect you from overheating and lighting on fire? What? Apparently this is actually fairly accurate. Being near lava is akin to being near an oven, and can burn you without actually touching it. And while it's not armor per se, as opposed to wearing less, a full body fire proximity suit is often required, depending on just how close you get. Rudania is a lizard-shaped divine beast, which will require you to go directly into the mouth of the volcano in order to fight it. And with the help of the Goron champion, Daruk, you'll reclaim the fourth and final divine beast. Meaning it's time! Time to head into the Lost Woods and try to get the Master Sword again, which, as it turns out, requires you to have 13 total hearts. So finally, Master Sword in hand, it's time to return to goofing off. Catching 100 restless crickets to help out this creepy guy try to hit on a girl who is in no way interested in him? Sure, why not? Helping build a new town. What? What? Fine, I'll go to Ganon. You're missing the point of the game. Calamity Ganon, as it turns out, is a giant spider-esque monster, and by far the creepiest and most intimidating Ganon I have ever seen. I don't want to dwell on Ganon too much, but this was my favorite incarnation of him yet, because instead of being some dumb pig monster or buff Adrian Brody, well, just look at him! Oh wait. He turns into Dark Beast Ganon, which is just a big dumb pig. With Zelda's aid, and little final effort, the day is saved. A 100-year-old Zelda returns, and is somehow still alive, and the two of you go off to repopulate Hyrule.
Restore Hyrule to its former glory.
Whatever. It's funny, because while writing this show, the hardest thing to talk about was anything involving the main quest. Because at the end of the day, while it's there and is fun to do, the game is about exploration and discovery. The best moments are accidentally walking up to a dragon, or seeing a board cube in the distance, even just climbing to the top of a mountain to see what's there, then gliding off of it. It's absolutely charming and incredibly well executed. I'm normally not a big fan of open world games, yet I couldn't put this particular one down. In fact, maybe I should go on an adventure of my own.
Fuck it all!
Huge thanks to Rock and Rope Adventures for helping me shoot all of the climbing portions. Definitely check them out if you want to climb in the LA area. Also, thanks as always to my buddy Matt Newman for helping me shoot, and waking up at 5 a.m. for this one. Can't thank you enough for that.